I'll talk on two counts. One is the head of association. I'm Director General of SMEV. And this is an association that we formed 10 years back when we just went into electric vehicle from Hero Electric side. So this association has grown strength year on year, and today we have 52 members. Everybody like Tata, Mahindra, and Bosch, Hero Electric, so many of them are members, many two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler. The role of this organization has been very critical on two or three counts. To begin with, when we started this business in two-wheelers, we found that unless the category is taken up together, it will be very difficult for the electric mobility to single-handedly take off organization by organization. So we had to bind people together in oneness of purpose, trying to get their ideas together, thrash it out, so that by consensus we reach a level where we can talk to the policymakers and other stakeholders. So the first role of the organization became building consensus amongst ourselves, across segments, across categories, across products, which meant a lot of pooling of ideas, education from outside India also, what's happening across countries. And then using this, thrashing it out, and creating a sort of a think tank which could talk to the policymakers. So the second part would be the education and awareness of the policymakers, because they also wanted to know from unbiased organizations like ours what is really good for India for electric mobility. So that was a role, critical role we started playing at MNRE first, then DHI, and then other ministries, and lately at Niti Aayog. See, that's awareness, education, and discussing about policies which are so relevant, and the low-hanging fruits was an outcome of that. So today, SMEV is a very strong force of sort of giving the inputs which are representing manufacturers, but not in a business way. It's more to do with the category growth. And we are able to, that's the best part, is that we are still able to build a consensus rather than dichotomy of views, so that there is nothing like two or three things that comes out of SME when we talk to stakeholders, etc. We also provided a platform to component makers. We provided a platform to academia to get interface into the Electric Vehicle Association and organizations through us. So today we are working with some IITs. We are working with even public sector undertakings like HPCL, Indian Oil, and we are also working with component makers like Bosch and so many others, battery makers, so that the universe of electric vehicle is addressed totally together. Great. On the other side, the role, the second cap that I'm wearing is CEO of Hero Electric, and that's also 10 years old. So obviously that role is much harsher. That is a survival role of trying to swim in muddy waters and trying to still breathe out of thin air. And it has been a difficult time, obviously, all these years trying to push business economics into electric mobility with so less that was happening in the space. So the role over there was to conserve on one side, yet not conserve to the extent that we fold in. That's why the network expansion in Heroes went on and on. And today we have 400 network across India. And the good part is a very small attrition of network has happened despite so much in the business not being favorable to them. So our network is largely just breaking even now after years of toiling. So keeping the network together, keeping the team together, keeping the morale and incentivizing everybody around the idea of being associated with the objective rather than being business minded was a major role here, where a larger objective of, see, what is good for society, what is good for nation, and then what will be good for you, is again something that is so instilled well in the team, in the network, that is perhaps the binding force of the organization today. So we have now 200 team members and 400 network. And we are the largest market share holders of all electric vehicles to put together, not only two-wheelers. On all electric buses, cars, except e-rickshaws, because we don't count them yet as electric vehicle. We are 38% market share all over the country, and on electric itself we are closer to 50% of the market share of the country. Unfortunately, the electric mobility needs a third leg always. That's a policy intervention and support from the government. It's been there across the world. Time and again, there have been experiment of not the government not involving into it and electric mobility flattening out. So certainly, there is some sort of a policy imperative and intervention required in electric mobility is a universal truth. Now, as in today's session we saw that the policy makers themselves are perhaps not savvy enough to know what is required in electric mobility and have very limited resources. Exchequer doesn't have that much of money also. That's why perhaps in the short run is more important than the long run today for electric mobility. That's why SMEV and I have been advocating, let's not talk of 10 years, let's not talk of 5 years figures here. Let's make a start. And from now onwards, till the next 2 or 3 years, it should be the focus area where if you are serious about electric mobility, let's put the first 1 million electric vehicles in some 4, 5, 6 states. Why? Because the most important part of an electric mobility, whether it is a two-wheeler or a bus or anything else, is positive word of mouth of a user saying that I have bought something costlier, but it's so great and it is saving me money. How will it come? It will come only out of the real user who is on the road. It won't come out of thin air of just talking about it. Nobody is convinced about it. So if you have to work back and put those 1 million, the visibility will be there, largely of two-wheelers and other vehicles also. And how do you do that 1 million, first 1 million? The golden thing is price parity here. Today, a guy who is entering a showroom of a petrol two-wheeler, if he's offered a choice similar in price, he'll immediately jump because he knows this has a lithium battery which has a fuel equal to 4 or 5 years of petrol. So today the resistance is price tag, a sticker shock. If you are able to remove that sticker shock of a personal user, he will tip over surely. For businesses who pollute the environment, they can simply be told that why are you polluting? Can't you switch over 20% of your fleet to electric? How can you do this to the environment while you are making money out of it? So anybody in the deliveries, couriers, or rentals, taxis, etc., they can simply be told to convert 10% of their goods to electric. So in the short run, if you are able to do it, if you are able to put first 1 million, then the third prop can be slowly done away with. And the result of that would be surely positive word of mouth about electric mobility for others to see, and the tipping point will come. Very large role, very critical. But unfortunately, the private sector, most of it is so business oriented, they sit on the fence. For example, today component makers are sitting on the fence. We want Make in India, but people who want to invest into it, they are not seeing anything on this side of the fence saying that if I invest, will I get returns in 10 years, 5 years or 3 years? So private sector has to have a leap of faith here. And how will the leap of faith will come? That will come out of the people who are already into this thick and thin of the business. And looking at them, they'll get the confidence of investing. So the other private sector, which is already into it, has a role to play in this, of not creating too much of negativity into the environment of, we are not making huge losses, we are not getting policy support. So such like statements give very negative vibes outside. If you have invested as a private sector into it, you better be with it and better be positive about it. So positive vibes of existing investors into the electric mobility will do a great job. Also ways and means of drawing the people who are on the fence, like component makers, technology suppliers and others, into this by giving them confidence of long-term contracts and some sort of volume equations and some sort of co-working. Co-working will help in a big way. For example, even Hero is working very closely with partners who want to enter into business and giving them some sort of a confidence in SOPs that, okay, we are with you, you are with us, and together we can be much better. Well, awareness, and the foremost is that. And behind awareness is the confidence of saying that I bought the right product, I got into the right segment, and the environment or the other questions doesn't come into mind. It's pure economy or economics of buying or value for money equation. So value for money has to be established in the minds of Indian customer who is so cost conscious or value conscious. He doesn't want a cheap product, he wants a value product. So that is the biggest challenge, like in adoption, awareness. Private entrepreneurs can do it who are already into business, but they have limited budgets to do it. And if they do it, it is stopped. It's taken as a marketing talk. If somehow the industry and the policymakers can do it together, like if we can have under the Swachh Bharat campaign, if we have a clean air campaign, it will work wonders. If the government talks to people saying clean air, switch over to electric mobility, we are subsidizing it for you, do something for the country, I believe there will be many people, especially youngsters, who will switch over there, that side. So awareness is number one, surely. Second is, in order to get the first 1 million or maybe 2 to 3 million on the road, some sort of a nudge is required. It can't be too democratic a process of just thinking that, okay, people will switch over. And when I say nudge or a mandating is, it has to be the polluters pay principle there. If we can somehow make sure that people who are still not thinking of buying electric, even if there is a viable option of an electric, those guys have to then pay for what they are doing to the country or to the environment. So some sort of a cess, some sort of a green cess has to be imposed so that at the time of buying, there is something that comes to the mind, oh, I'm being penalized for using diesel, I'm being penalized for using petrol, so why shouldn't I go to electric? So that is the second thing that should be done for this. And the other challenge that can be overcome is about financing, because financing is so horribly high here and there is so much lack of financing. Especially in two-wheelers, 45 to 55% is financed in petrol side. Here it is less than 2%. So that bank of 40% people who would have liked to buy an electric vehicle is not there for us. So financing through public sector banks, I'm not asking reduced rate of interest. I'm only asking priority lending here. Charge your 12%, but don't refuse people. So financing could tip that balance of people who don't have too much of money, but they want to buy. That's the third part over here. And state level, if we can use some of the states who are savvy, for example, Pune, Telangana, there are 2 or 3 states. Delhi has come out with this. At state level, if it can be pushed, because there it can be pushed at state level for the state level problems of municipalities, RTOs. And like people are saying even on getting licenses, permits, etc., states can do a much better job. So states can do a comprehensive job of seeing that their state is EV friendly. So some states can become EV friendly. So these challenges, if they can be overcome, things will be much different. WRI particularly, I have seen this organization has its own high standards of researching the right things and projecting the right things and not getting influenced or swayed by businesses here and there. So on the policy side also, the government needs some people or some institutions like WRI and some like others who can give them unbiased type of an input about what is good for the country. And if this role is amplified by WRI and if they consistently perform this role, and then they also perform this role all encompassing towards center and state also, I think that will do the job over here. Also on the research side, I believe that WRI needs perhaps, because it's an organization which is into research, attitudes and behaviors of people of switching over to electric is a great subject to research on. Ultimately, beyond the money, beyond the value for money, what is the behavioral change that will catalyze switching over to electric is a wonderful project that can be taken up by WRI.